Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into a really strange puzzle at the very heart of artificial intelligence. It turns out, the more we try to make AI good, the more vulnerable it actually becomes. It's this wild paradox that connects the most advanced technology on the planet with some truly ancient ideas about the nature of reality itself.
So let's get right into it. Why does making an AI virtuous also somehow make it more dangerous? And look, this isn't just some late-night dorm room question. It's a real, technical problem that is seriously challenging the very people building our future. How is it possible that the act of making an AI good creates a perfect backdoor to make it evil?
And this is not a theory. This is a direct quote from developers who are finding this out in real time. The more they align an AI to a moral compass, the easier it becomes for someone to just flip that compass completely upside down. We're talking about the AI alignment paradox. And, it reveals this deep fundamental vulnerability in our whole quest for safe AI.
So, to really get our heads around this, here's our roadmap. We're going to start with a modern tech problem. Then, we're going to take a journey way back in time to an ancient metaphysical law. We'll see how it describes reality through these inseparable opposites. And finally, we're going to map that ancient insight right back onto modern code, which might just reveal something profound about us.
Okay, so first things first, let's break down the technical side of this whole thing. What is actually happening inside these massive AI models that creates this paradox in the first place?
So the goal of AI alignment, it seems simple enough and pretty noble, right? The whole project is about steering these systems toward good behavior and away from bad behavior. We want them to be helpful, ethical, safe, all the good stuff.
But here's the catch. To teach an AI what good is, let's say being helpful and harmless, you have to define it with incredible precision. But by creating this clear, shining North Star for goodness, you automatically and unavoidably create its perfect opposite, a black hole for badness. The blueprint for virtue literally becomes the blueprint for vice.
This whole good-bad dichotomy, it basically acts like a light switch. Once those two poles are clearly defined in the AI's programming, an adversary can use what's called a steering vector to pull off a sign-inversion attack. And really, it's exactly what it sounds like. They just flip the switch, turning all of the model's carefully trained virtues into their exact terrifying opposites.
So here's the absolute kicker. The capacity for the AI to be bad seems to be identical to its capacity to be good. They're two sides of the same coin, and the attempt to engineer pure goodness is the very thing that forges that coin in the first place. This suggests you literally can't engineer the bad stuff out.
Now this is where things get really wild. What if this isn't a new problem at all? What if this paradox we're just now discovering in silicon is a perfect reflection of a fundamental law of reality, one that was described with stunning precision centuries ago in a school of thought known as Akbarian metaphysics?
Okay, so this whole worldview starts with the concept called wujūd. You can think of it as being or reality with a capital R. It's the single, ultimate, totally unlimited source of absolutely everything that exists.
Now, this reality, this wujūd, it isn't static. It's not just sitting there. It's in a constant state of what's called Tajallığı, which means self-disclosure. It's the process where this singular reality is constantly revealing itself in every single form we see in the created world.
And this is the absolute key to the whole thing. This self-disclosure, this tajallığı, is total. It isn't selective. For it to be a true disclosure of a total reality, it has to include every single possibility, every aspect of what is real, without a single exception. You just can't have a partial unveiling of a total reality.
So, how does this total disclosure even work? Well, it's structured through pairs of opposites that are completely and utterly inseparable.
In this system, the attributes of reality, called the divine names, always show up in these contrasting pairs. On one side, you've got the names of Jamal, which represent beauty, goodness, gentleness, things like the merciful. And on the other side, you have the names of Jalal, which represents severity, majesty, power, things like the severe. And the thing is, you simply cannot have one without the other. The very idea of the merciful only makes sense in a world where severity exists. The concept of the exalter requires the possibility of the abaser. They are two faces of the exact same single reality.
This is just a brilliant way to put it. The 14th century thinker Dawud al-Qasari,
explained that these opposites are actually nested inside each other. So even within the most severe act, there's a hidden gentleness. And within the most beautiful thing, there's a kind of majestic, awesome power. They are completely and totally inseparable.
All right, you've been patient. Let's connect this ancient metaphysical map right back to our modern AI alignment problem. What on earth does one have to do with the other?
Well, if you look at it through this metaphysical lens, trying to build a purely good AI starts to look like an attempt to do the impossible. It's an effort to create a limited, censored version of reality self-disclosure, one that only shows the names of beauty, the Jamal, while trying to scrub out their necessary counterparts, the names of severity, or Jalal.
And what's so fascinating is how perfectly the technical process mirrors this metaphysical law. Step 1, developers define good, creating a vector for Jamal. Step 2, by doing that, they have to define its opposite, the vector for Jalal. Step 3, that Jalal vector is the steering vector that lets an adversary flip the switch. The attempt to create pure goodness is the very thing that creates the vulnerability. It's a one-to-one match. The metaphysical principle here is crystal clear. Any attempt by a limited being, like a human coder, to try and delimit the non-delimited, to pick and choose which aspects of total reality get to be expressed, well, it's ultimately pointless. A total reality has to contain all possibilities, by definition.
This parallel isn't just a neat coincidence. It has some really profound implications for what this whole AI alignment project, and maybe our relationship with technology itself, truly represents. See, in this worldview, there's this concept of a hijab, or a veil. A veil is anything that clouds our vision of the true nature of reality. And the ultimate veil, the biggest one of all, is the belief that we can, or even should, try to censor which aspects of reality are allowed to show up.
And that forces us to ask a pretty tough question, doesn't it? Is the project to build a purely good AI really an attempt to build a censored, incomplete reflection of reality? Are we trying to engineer a machine that denies this fundamental principle of inseparable opposites, a law that seems to be woven into the very fabric of existence?
This really suggests that the paradox we're finding in our machines isn't a bug in the AI. It's a feature of reality that's being reflected back at us, its creators. And if we can't build a being that reflects only beauty without also and necessarily creating the capacity for its opposite, well, that leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. What does that teach us about the nature of our own world?